Well, I am very excited to be here with Dick from the Subhumans. Dick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're here at Slow Brew here in San Luis Obispo, and you guys have played here a few times. I've seen you a few times. What do you think about this venue?
I like it.
Yeah.
Good sound, good people, nice little town.
Yeah.
It's got a bookshop, I believe.
Okay.
You can tell a town's a good place. It's got a bookshop.
Okay.
Some places don't.
Those are kind of a rare thing nowadays, right?
Unfortunately, so yes. Less libraries, less bookshops, less people reading. Kindles, screens, just taking over.
All digital, yeah.
Yeah. You got to hold the book. You got to smell the book. You got to feel the weight, feel the heft.
Well, Dick, I wanted to talk to you about the current tour. Yesterday you just played at the Beach Goth show down south, and a lot of big names. Of course, you guys, a big name, but a lot of other big names. Die Antwoord, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, a lot of cool acts. What was that like? And did you get a chance to hang out with some of the other artists when you were there?
Wow, multiple layers of questioning. It was very unusual.
Yeah.
See that guy over there? Everybody was more or less dressed like him.
Okay. Like George Clinton, basically, from Parliament Funkadelic. Yeah.
I mean, everyone was wearing either too much or too little, and definitely not what they normally wear during the week. Yeah. I think what they did is they went through whoever was organising it. They had a little cabal of people organising this thing. I think, right, who do we really want to hear? Yeah. Who enough people have heard of before to attract a multiplicity of types of people. Okay. And so they picked all these names, and it's like, punk rock. Let's have the Addicts and the Subhumans. Let's do that.
Check the box.
Yeah, we've done the punk bit, and then for other genres, because I didn't see most of the bands that did play. Okay. I'm not even sure which bands were which, but I was looking down this list of bands when we first saw the flyer for it, thinking I don't know any of these bands except the Addicts.
Yes.
It's like, who are they all? And it's like, right, they must all be beach goth bands. It must be some massive subculture I've never heard of.
Some new scene that the kids are into. Yeah, you got to wear the surf trunks with the dyed black hair and stuff.
Put your standard goths on a beach, they boil because they're wearing black, or they frazzle up because they never go out in the daylight, and the whole thing must therefore mean you put two things together that don't normally go together, and they've done that with all this music. Yeah. So you've got a whole fantastic range of people there. Everybody seemed to have a really good time. Very cool. And it was the first semi-outdoor Californian or American festival we've actually played at, which was a nice treat.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Your guys' formation over about 35 years ago, 1980. When you were coming up, when Dick was something like that, right? Is my math, are my sources correct?
Your sources are correct.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, Dick,
it's just a shock. Every now and again to sort of contemplate the amount of decades that have been going on.
But certain bands are timeless, and screw the numbers, screw the decades. It's all about bringing it live like you guys do. And one question that I asked some folks that I interviewed, Dick, is when you were like a little boy growing up, listening to your turntable, maybe 10 years old, 11 years old. I know you guys all joined the Subhumans when you were pretty young, but what were some influences on you when you were growing up? What kind of bands were you listening to? And probably this is probably pre-punk rock scene.
Pre-punk rock, yeah. I mean, we were hitting like 15, 16 years old at the same time punk rock was starting to happen. Yeah. So our influences in our early teen years is a right mixture. Personally, Black Sabbath, David Bowie, and then occasional singles by bands that were just completely awful otherwise, like The Sweet or ABBA. They weren't completely awful, actually. They were semi-awful. Yeah. But
those glam. Actually, when we interviewed Monkey, had him on my show, he actually was referencing The Sweet and a lot of the glam acts of that era being kind of influences.
The power chords. Yeah. They had occasionally they'd go to a chorus, and the power chords would strike home. The power chord structure of SOS by ABBA, the chords there are just a real emotional. They get that spinal column at the right place, and I don't care that it's all pop-tastic and that.
There's something to it, though. There's a magic to it.
That was the attraction of punk rock initially, was that here was a music scene that had put all these power chords together and shredded all the weak bits in the middle, got rid of all the lead breaks and the the quiet intros and all the heart-rending little mid bits in the middle. And on top of that was laying out lyrics about bored teenagers and white riots and
bedsitters
in the UK and stuff like not Love and Romance or whatever ABBA sung about.
Well, you mentioned Bowie, and actually, in one of your guys' songs, you actually kind of have a little reference to purchasing David Bowie LPs. A little bit of
I
a.
just used him as a representation of somebody who sells a lot of records and was popular at the time.
Gotcha. Okay, so not a particular diss at Bowie, but just yeah. Gotcha.
He was just an example of somebody famous and popular.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Dick, I am a big fan. You guys are actually one of the best live punk rock acts I've seen, up there with the Addicts and a couple others. You guys, really amazing, really excited to see you here tonight. And one of the things I love about your music that makes it so timeless, in my opinion, is lyrically, as a lyricist, you're focusing on some pretty deep issues. In 2007's Internal Riot album in particular, some of the songs on there, Too Fat, Too Thin, I mean, just talking about how some of us kind of internalize that oppression onto ourselves.
Yeah, the personal is the political, as you were saying. And I've always tried to avoid singing it about particularly Thatcher or particularly anybody, because they will disappear in the end. But the actual structure of what she represented is the thing to sing about. So that in that sense, the song becomes more timeless in as much as it's not time-based.
Well, speaking of protest songs, Dick, I have kind of a personal question, and I don't usually ask artists about the meaning behind their songs. I know that's often cliched and stuff, but I do have a particular question I want to ask about. I don't know a lot about your biography, but in my opinion, one of the ultimate protest songs, in addition, with the exception of Citizen Fish's How to Write Ultimate Protest Songs, which of course has to be number one, but the number two, in my opinion, is the song No. And every time I listen to that, man, I just get fired up, and particularly the opening line.
No, I don't believe in Jesus Christ. My mother died of cancer when I was 5.
Is that actually autobiographical? Did your mom actually pass away when you were younger?
Imagine my mum was still alive and I wrote that. Whoa, she would not be happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured, but it could be a sensitive issue.
It turns out that I should have. No, I don't believe in God. My mother died of cancer when I was 3.
Oh.
As it turns out, I thought I was approaching 5 when it happened. I found out by asking my dad, late after I wrote it, I was actually 3, not 5.
Okay.
But the point is the same. Yeah. Yes, it happened, and because I just thought it was really grossly unfair that people could be taken away way before their time's up.
It makes you start to question the existence of an almighty, all-loving God.
It's all this, God loves everybody. And that first question is, so how come my mum died? How come all these people are dying of famine when it's not their fault? How many, just the chaos, the death that goes on. There's no all-controlling God, and if there is, he's a complete bastard. He or she is a complete bastard or bitch. And
somebody you wouldn't want to worship who would allow that kind of stuff to happen. Yeah.
The Bible does have a lot of good things to say. Be nice to each other. Duh. No shit. Treat each other as you want to be treated. Okay. Hey, shit, I could have thought of that. I probably thought that when I was like 3, on the very edge of learning how to speak. I thought, wow, nice person to me. I be nice back. Yeah. Sort of. Probably. Everybody does that naturally, right? Yeah.
Mammals do it. Primate studies show that there's reciprocity amongst mammals.
Don't steal stuff from other people. Do not kill. Pretty basic idea, that one. But it also says, like, we did a gig. Where was it? Oklahoma City. And some kiddie comes up. He says, can you sign my Bible? He's got this pocket Bible. I say, no. He says, why not? I said, because I don't want to be associated with the Bible. I don't believe anything in it. It's full of rubbish. He says, no, it's not. Anyway, I flipped through it. I just by random, and it was about, like, woman shall suffer the silence of the yada 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 until she's finished washing up, basically. I said, look at this. There you go. At random, completely sexist, all women downgraded to be just above the beast. And then his friend says, oh, yeah, but that was, like, written ages ago. I said, so why are you still reading it? You know what I mean? It's like, it's out of date. Throw it away. Welcome to the 20th century. Jeez.
I can totally relate to that. And Dick, so the next verse in No.
No, I don't believe in religion. I was forced to go to church. I wasn't told why.
It sounds like you at a young age you learned to kind of question authority pretty early on. Is that the case? And was religion one of the things that felt kind of oppressive to you when you were a little kid in your family, or?
Not to that extent, really. No, I had a good family. It was kind. There was no trouble, no violence. There was rules. Be polite. Do as you're told. Obvious stuff. But nothing really nasty. Religion is just one thing. Our dad sang in the church choir. So we came with him to the church because he was singing in the choir. It was just a childcare thing, really. He wasn't ramming it down our throats. But I didn't feel comfortable hanging out with the kids in the Sunday school and all that because I didn't know them. I was shy and introverted and all that sort of thing. And I wasn't a believer or disbeliever. I just didn't think it made much sense in the same way Santa Claus didn't make much sense. And then later on you read about religious wars and you look at the lyrics to Onward Christian Soldiers and what's that about? You got hymns, always full of these rather dodgy lines. Didn't really understand where the hell they were coming from.
About slaughtering people and the Crusades.
Yeah. Very strange stuff.
Well, thank you, Dick, for sharing that. I've always kind of wondered that as a fan of you guys and wanted to ask kind of a probing question. One last song meaning question, and this is one I've had discussions and debates with friends about. Mickey Mouse is Dead. So that song, there's a certain sort of deep ambiguity in that song that, in reading through the lyrics repeatedly, I've always wondered about. Could you give us a little insight into it? Because on the surface, it sounds kind of like a nihilistic sort of song, but then when you read it, it almost sounds like it's a critique of the masses and their willingness to tear down idols. And I'm just real curious about the kind of the background of that song.
Willingness to tear down idols.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. The thing is, I wrote that way faster than I thought about it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It was pretty much stream of consciousness. I thought the first line, that sounds good. Mickey Mouse is dead. Where am I going to take that? It's just like.
And the comedians on stage,
Despite nothing, Mickey Mouse represented the simplicity of comedy when it started appearing on our screens and things. Early cartoons. It was very much banana skins walking into lampposts, very basic, and I was kind of lamenting the loss of that.
The loss of innocence, or
It's a loss of innocence, especially when it came to comedy and the easy 1-2 thing of it, because comedy got very complicated and subtle and then went in all weird directions.
Everybody's reading the and that's very present today. I mean, political correctness, reading the subtext of everything, interjecting meaning where it maybe didn't exist before. There's something kind of dangerous about that potentially.
It can be. Yeah, it can be fun doing it. I overanalyze a hell of a lot. But that's where that song started, and then it ends up being about people holding themselves in and not letting themselves go. So on the one hand, was life so simple back then? Probably not. And you got this simplistic stuff, but in reality is everything's actually falling to bits. But you need to be a lot critical. Try not to get jaded so much as critical. You need to criticize or expect to have your own stuff criticized.
And that was kind of what struck me about that song. Again, most punk rock, the ethos in punk rock is to question authority, question things, break it down. And there was something about that song that almost was kind of an letting dead dogs lie kind of philosophy. Like, there's a limit by questioning certain things. You might be losing innocence, or you might be, again, interjecting your own meaning when that meaning didn't exist to begin with or something.
Possibly, yeah. Perhaps it's just about growing up and having to get used to the adult world and not really liking much of it. Basically.
All right. Well, thank you, Dick, for sharing that, man. Really, I broke my cardinal rule of not asking about song meaning, so I appreciate you breaking my virginity on that. So,
do not take that clip out of context.
We will.
Soundbite, breaking my virginity.
Yes.
Thanks, Dick, for breaking my virginity.
There will be a lawsuit in the paper. And Dick, in doing interviews, I ask a lot of folks about the influence that John Peel had. And as a young lad coming up, so many artists from Britain just talk about how influential John was. For you, was that the case too?
Absolutely. I used to record his shows and go through them the next morning and just pick out the good stuff and compile cassette tapes of all the good bits. And it was brilliant. It was just unfortunately, I clipped off when I was transferring it from reel to reel cassette. I clip his voice off from the beginning and the end of the song. And I wish I'd kept, because the stuff he would say about the songs before and after. He had just a great voice, and he had such fantastic wit about him, and just one-liners. I wish I'd kept the speech, because he's gone now. And
sadly, 10 years passed this last year. Yeah,
no one's really replaced him in the way he brought new music, as far as I know. I stopped listening to so-called commercial populist radio quite a while back, because so much of it was dross.
Did you guys ever get close to maybe doing some Peel sessions, or not really back then?
We did do a session for Mike, but it's on BBC Six, in the same studio as John Peel did his sessions in at the BBC with Citizen Fish about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so that was where John Peel had done his things. That's the closest we ever got. They did consider doing a Subhumans session when Cradle to the Grave came out, and apparently Peel had been up for it, and the producer wasn't up for it, and that was that. He had the last word. but people actually sent me a postcard saying so, which was nice.
Wow.
Which I've lost. Never mind.
Well, that's a great story. Yeah, this tour has been really successful. You guys have played a lot of shows. Yeah, no injuries. No, everybody's in good spirits and everything.
Yeah, very much. We did. We lost Jay's passport for 3 hours this morning.
Oh, okay.
But we found it. That's a long story, cut short.
I'm going to ask where it was stuck.
The stress of thinking you've lost someone's passport is immense when you've got to like get into Tijuana and you've got to fly from A to B and then you've got to get home at the end of it. And if you don't find it, you've got to go to the consulate in either LA or San Francisco and wait like a day or two to get something back to replace it, and everything it happened once with the fish. We had our stuff nicked in Detroit. Never mind. But yeah. But the result of getting all the stress for 3 hours after you've just woken up is that it gets solved. Then we're like really bouncy because this is like really quite a bouncy day.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Everything's good today.
So
It can go wrong.
It cannot go wrong, and that's a great final word there from Dick. It cannot go wrong. Just keep following these guys, and Dick, we look forward to seeing all the cool stuff that you guys will be doing in the future. New tours and maybe some new material. Any sneak peek about new releases or anything like that? New studio recordings?
I wish I could say there'd be a whole record coming up, but there isn't. Except for Culture Shock, which is not this band. It's a different interview, but we might as well slip a bit of that interview in now. Swiftly change his t-shirt.
Well, let's do a little plug for Culture Shock. You have a fan here with a Culture Shock LP right there, so maybe we'll hold it up.
What it looks like.
Cover
that bit.
trademarked image right there.
Okay, he's got a whole collection here. Culture Shock reformed a couple of years ago, and we finally got enough songs to make a whole record.
An adulterated LP right there.
That was the second one. Wow. Yeah.
So in terms of the new material,
That's going to come out on AT next July. That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, and it sounds great.
Very cool.
Because we don't pay anybody to say it sounds great. We don't even pay ourselves to say it sounds great, but it does. Yeah. Subhumans wise, we've got a couple of new songs, but the fact is our drummer Trotsky lives in Germany. We all live in the UK. Very hard to get together to practice. Very hard to get together after we practice to have the backup practice and relearn and change the songs into better ones. That kind of sucks. That's why Internal Riot took ages to get together.
25 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just the way it is.
That's the way it is.
This is the best we can do at the moment, so we'll keep doing that. Yeah.
What you're doing here is good enough for me, Dick. So thanks so much for your time, man. Wish you all the best, and really looking forward to seeing you guys tonight here at Slow Brew. So thanks so much.
No, I don't believe in religion. I'm forced to go to church. I want to show Thank you.